It's a very fine point about how to handle actors. Some actors, you've got to just give them their head. People have the odd idea that the director's a kind of lion tamer, and they're all saying with actresses, no, 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 I will not do that, and then you say you will do that, and all that absurd thing. It's a great eternal mystery, which is denied us. I don't know why a painter can make a certain line and I can't make a certain line, and why an actor can call on something in himself that I cannot do. And also the director has the enormous advantage of hearing it. You see it and you hear it. So you have that detachment. You've got to watch actors and they say, well, you told me that yesterday, now you're telling me this, and then you have to have the skill and say, well, I was wrong yesterday and I'm right now. But by and large, you give the tone of the whole thing. You give the vitality. And if a director sits down, everybody else will sit down. And that is among his other duties, to keep it going. You've got to know why you're doing this and this piece. You've got to know why do I want to do the Dickens? What is the essence of that? And I try to capture that. Fields played the sort of a scallywag who was having a tough time with life, and also that he wasn't too honest and he was trying to get away with things. He was born to play this part. He was Mr. Micawber, and I don't think he'd always played himself or things that he'd created. And I found him very sympathetic, very nice, and very inventive, but never outside the character of Micawber. He played, as I say, an ignorant actor, and he'd found out that an English actor had got the job that he desperately needed, and he'd say, I can be as English. I can be as English as anybody.
I can be English as anybody.
And he says, I can do Ibsen. And he just heard vaguely of Ibsen, and then he would strike this absolutely inappropriate pose. And he said, Mother dear, give me the moon. Whereas the Ibsen line was, Mother, give me the sun.
I rather like the idea of going with Stengel. They tell me he does those highbrow plays. Ibsen. I want the moon, Mother.
Yeah. Now look,
he understands I'm to be starred, of course.
He played a second-rate, cheapish actor, which God knows he wasn't, and he did it with enormous wit and very subtly. He would listen sympathetically and try anything that a director might suggest. I remember the very touching end, and I suggested there happened to be a stool, and I said, I think it'd be awfully interesting if he did this very ugly, middle-aged, awkward sprawl. And he did that so wonderfully, and then he pulled himself together and died showing his profile. I think that we all have limitations, but I don't like it when people put artificial limitations on you. Why shouldn't I be able to do a serious, dramatic thing? You have to dig out what is real and valid. Let's say Camille. There were things in that were conventions, that a bad woman would ruin a young man's life. But if you do it so that everybody understands it, and you dig out the reality and the truth of it, because the truth will move people. I don't think you spend your money to be tormented in the theater. Well, now, I think if you were going to see great eternal tragedies, the Greek tragedies, or Dostoevsky, or the things that, well, you might submit to that. But to be tormented by people trying to make a buck, and whose intellectual opinions and whose skill is not to be particularly respected, I just think it's, I prefer the pomposity of it. puts me off. And also the unattractiveness. I think it's a kind of life. You're not doing Gorky as the lower depth. You're doing a fake version of it, you know, and a fake, sentimental, soft version of it. There is a trick of adapting a play to the screen. If you photographed a stage play, you'd see that it was very static. You have to adapt it and give it a movement, and sometimes a very subtle movement, and yet keep the cohesion of a play. Judy Holliday was an extremely intelligent, intellectual person, very well educated, very highbrow, very musical, and she was unique. Some actresses are very talented, and some actresses are talented and are artists. Well, Judy Holliday was an artist as well. She showed you truth through comedy. That is what an actor can do. And then, of course, she was a master of comedy and of subtlety and of understatement. Spencer would, I'm sure, be preoccupied with the part. I'm sure he would be mulling it over, but he didn't articulate it. Because he felt that, well, if I talk about it an awful lot, then when I do it, it won't have the freshness. That is what is the immediacy that good picture acting has. But I'm not talking about improvisation. He spoke every if, and but in the text. I think you want to give the illusion that it is improvised. That's what an accomplished actor does. But you hew to the line, to the text. It's very, very important. If you've got some good stuff, that is the vitality. That's the heart blood of the whole thing. If you look life square in the face and say, well, I lack here and I lack there, and you take a sharp account of yourself, and you try not to be envious or resentful and sorry for yourself, I think you stand a chance to enjoy life.